Hello people, Bode here. Thought I would just share a new video. Um, I have more or less finished the case measurement, modeling everything now. Even 3D printed some of the parts to readjust the placements. So I thought I would let all of you in on the progress so far. Uh, to be honest, I checked some prices and I think we are looking at if you were to buy everything, I think the complete price would be around 500 euro for a case like this when you have it made, and that's including the base case and all the extra normal parts. Um, I base that based on the cost of programming and all the parts and yeah, but that's like a preliminary price for all of them. I haven't really got that confirmed. They give me a price on each small part, and if I am to have everything programmed maybe as a set, it would cost uh, more to buy it. So maybe you would have to print like each component as a separate set, and then you have to put the price together afterwards. Anyway, the final prices will be I will talk about them in another video at a later point when I have the funds. As I said, I don't want to use like a fund me or whatever for this because uh, I don't want the liability of that. So um, when the first versions will be a little bit more expensive because that's when I pay for the programming, and once they have programmed all the parts in sheet metal into their machines, then you don't have to pay for the programming for the next batch, so those next ones will be a bit cheaper. Um, so the first one will probably be limited in numbers and a little bit more expensive to cover the cost, and the next ones will probably be a little bit cheaper. Um, these will be made in Norway, so if you want to order these later on, you have to remember that there will be a shipping cost, and for some countries there will also be an import cost because Norway is not in EU. So if you want to buy them in the EU, you have to know that you have to pay import tax on this, even in the EU, because Norway is not in the EU. And if you buy it from the UK, like you buy it from Norway sent to the UK, you also have to buy import tax because, lol, Brexit. If you want to buy this in the US, I think the safest option there is to send this with DHL. I will pack it nicely and everything. I do not have any, or ideally, I would like to ship this in like custom made boxes. I don't know how to make that. If anyone here has um any experience in making or having made custom boxes for the Amiga 4000 desktop, please let me know. Maybe I could order some boxes from you and ship it in so it looks nice. Or maybe you can put me in contact with whoever you had made those boxes. I maybe can have some made for myself. Um, ideally, I would like to also have like like foam or whatever inside, but all that costs money and it would add to the price. Um, if anything else, I would like to have it shipped properly so that the state I send it in will be the state that you receive it in. I don't want any returns on this because that's going to be expensive. Anyway, I'm going to show you my work so far. I hope the quality of the graphics is okay. So my base project was I wanted to make a new one of these base frames of the case. So I remeasured everything. Thanks to whoever said that I need a digital caliper. Um, that really made a lot of difference actually for a manual one, especially on the small details. So I've done some adjustments, etc. But anyway, let me show you this. So let's see, maybe I should make a flat pattern on this just to see main case. sheet metal, create flat pattern. Okay. So this is basically gonna be the flat pattern that they cut and bend after. Just gonna take that in. So I have added fan options for the front, which I recommend sucks in air. It would probably take in the air from the side where the CD-ROM is. It's kind of tight when you put on the front, so it would not probably suck from the bottom or the top, but maybe from the side where you have the CD-ROM, there's a lot of space there. I do recommend probably putting like a air dust filter on the in front and maybe some covers for fans, because they will be covering there. So that's that. And on here you have two fans in the back. I recommend them placed outwards, and I also modeled fans to illustrate. And you can see here these are 40 millimeters fan in an exact proportions, so it's not like I just put a model here. It's exactly 40 millimeter fans, so you can see how they fit into the case. And I added like here, if you would like to mount it on the outside, if it's a really thin fan, you can probably do that. That's why I added a hole here, so you can pull the cable through for the fans. Otherwise you will just have the cables on the inside and this hole will not be used. Same on the back. I put a small hole here and a small hole here. Those are cable guide holes for the fans if you want to put the fans on the outside. On the back there is not a problem because well, it's outside. But you can place the fans as you want on the inside or outside. I would recommend inside because it looks more cleaner, and maybe put some fan grills. I was thinking maybe making some Amiga fan grills like a V-Sign or something like that. I don't know, but maybe time shows. It's I probably wouldn't, but yeah. As you can see, I removed the fan grill I made on the sheet metal because I figure most people would just want to add their own, and it would just add to the cost of cutting and everything. And yeah, it doesn't really make it more flexible or anything. So it's I think it's fine like this. So there are 4 fans in the base case, and I will show you. I added I was talking about I made a new SFX stand here, and someone asked where do I place the adapters or whatever I have inside the case. I added spaces here for M305s, so you can add any kind of like PCBs you have, like an IDE interface or whatever. So hopefully that can help you a little bit in placing things. And I opened here. I made the stand fully open as much as possible so that you can pull cables through and everything. And the fan also is open at the bottom so that the SFX fan can be pointed downwards. And these fans are mounted inside the bracket themselves. I'll just turn off the main case and you can see this is the fan itself. The company I talked to, they said that it would be easier if they just made like cutouts like this, and it's basically put through, and then they will just solder the joints in the front to make it work. In addition, I made a change here to this because on the original case it was not possible to fit like a power switch here, which is an SFX fan. It would collide, so I made a small adjustment in the original design where I increased the height of this area here a little bit, because it came down here, so it would sort of intersect with this one. So I just increased the height a little bit so the fans can fit the power button. Now some fans may not have a power button like that, but I think it's better to have that option or not. Now there is a small thing here with the left hole on the back. to accommodate both the original PSU and an optional SFX. You can see I aligned the holes here to an SFX, but I also made this hole here big enough to accommodate if you have the standard original PSU. So I can just take away this one and then have the original PSU here. So this is the original PSU. As you can see, this model is just a template holder, but it's the exact proportions that your original PSU had in the case. Yeah, I know it's a monster and it removes a little bit, but it's up to you if you want to use the original or not. Space-wise, you would probably gain a lot more space if you used the SFX stand I have made with this case. Now, how do you connect this? Because you have a really big hole in the back. I remodeled the case. So if you use an SFX and not the original PSU, you have a small. I have checked with them if they can make it or not, but I hope so. You have a small sheave on the back attached with a nut or something similar. So what you basically do is, if you want to, let me see, where do I have that? I think it's under there. Yeah, lock shin. So if you have the original case, you see now it's designed to fit for the SFX PSU. The placement of the hole is a little bit different on a normal one. So what you do then is that you just rotate this 180 degrees, and then if you input the original PSU, you have a pretty much perfect align for that hole instead. So my idea is that it doesn't matter which PSU you use. If you use the original or an SFX, you can still properly attach the cover without it sort of being half loose. And it's supposed to be M3 screws, I think, to that, unless you use the SFX, which use a standard PSU, which is a little bit bigger. That's why the hole on the SFX is a little bit bigger than the other hole. So that was my original plan for that. So I'll just remove that. I'll just show this. So yeah, this leads me to the let me see, I'll just disable that and that. I'll just show you the cover. I remodeled the cover as well, as close to the original as possible. As you can see, this took a lot of work. Especially these parts here, the gaps here were kind of hard to get exactly correct, and they are a little bit off of what the original is, but I'm pretty happy with how they turned out, and the size should also fit to old original cases. So yeah, that's that. Let's bring back the original case. So yeah, another small change I did was here I'll just add a placeholder for the PCB and daughter board. Yes, I model all of this. And then I need standoffs. So you can see here that this is the placement. On the original design of the case, at least the one I have, the space here is kind of small, so you would always have a problem with adding a standoff on this side of the parallel port. I increased that by like 0.5 millimeters, and now you can actually let me see if I can find that one. Standoff this. So now you can see you can probably insert a standoff here without it actually touching the edge. So hopefully that will help a lot. If you wonder why I didn't close the gap on the other part of this. Like here, there's a gap. That's because on the original case it has a gap there, and you're actually supposed to have like a shielding frame in front of these ports between that and the case as well. But that was just a small change I made there, and I kept the original fan grill here, or the grill, and then that brings me on to another point, which is the see, I can bring up the SVX stand there, and then let me see. I made the black back plate again. Started making it because I see people miss it sometimes. Um, this actually took a lot of work, believe it or not. It's really hard to get the measurements correct when you cannot see it properly. So I made that, and I also modeled, I call it a traverse support bar. It's supposed to keep the cards in place. The daughter card here. So all of that fits. That will be one option. This one is a part that will be made. This one is a part that will be made for those who are missing those. And you can see I adjusted the width a little bit here to the left of the mouse port, just because I didn't have enough space there. Oh, that reminds me, maybe I should add some stands there. I can use that one. Now you actually get to see how I work. And this one. Sorry, I have to swirl it. That. Just take a top view on those. I think that one is aligned a bit different. Let's see this. Still seems out a little bit. Let's just see. That, and that. Move. And then I'll just zoom in a little bit. So there. They all look okay. So yeah, it's just for modeling purposes. The reason you see it load so slowly is because CAD programs can usually just use one CPU or one core, maximum two, because all operations have to be done in succession. You cannot do multiple operations at a time. So it's still a drawback of using CAD programs. So okay, so that's the mouse and the joystick port. And let's see. Yeah. And then the next step is let me see, I made a placeholder for the front to make sure the holes got in the exact position, and I have compared it to the original case that's on the case front that's on Thingiverse, and the case on Thingiverse is yes, it has some misaligned proportions. These are exact proportions of a real case front. I measured with a digital caliper, so this is more accurate than the one on Thingiverse. I can give you an example of this. If you input the front cover, you can for instance see that the hooks here are way too long. My hooks are perfectly fitted to the depth of the case. And you can also see that here I have, this is the exact position of it really, but here you see the model of the Thingiverse comes up. So it looks okay in the front, but it is actually not in the correct position. Let's see, where is it? Placeholder. Yeah, so when you remove that, the front looks okay, but and everything. It's not a lot, but it has to do with how well it fits to the new case. So yeah. I did not make the front cover there. I took it from Thingiverse just to illustrate. Okay, so that is that. Which is the next one? CD-ROM floppy bracket. I have actually 3D printed this, so it is verified to be fitting. And as you can see, I made small nuggets here. The thing is, these, if they get too far apart, they don't serve a purpose because they need to be screwed tight here to be in the correct position to support any kind of CD-ROM. I did try to do it on the printed version and it works well. The question is, can the company bend these properly? If not, maybe I will need to make a similar attachment like they told me to use here, where I just make openings and small metal stands on the inside. But that's a different thing. I'll just have to get checked up. Anyway, I remodel that one. It will be a separate part as well that you can buy, and it is to measurements. What's actually special here is that this one is actually lower than this one. The one of the holes is lower than the other one, and you can even see that on the original models. Oh yeah, I forgot to say. Oh, sorry. I took your tip, lowered the back here of the stand, and it still connects to here, so it's held in place with the original clips, so you don't need to use screws. The only screws you need to use is the one here, and it should be perfectly connected. And as well, you can put the PSU in those, the SFX PSU in those holes. And those should actually be quite secure because it's really tight here. It's really tight there. I tried it in the 3D printed model in a real case, and it's okay. Now the next one is the supports. I already told you I'm selling these either as one printed module or as a two-part glued model. These fit extremely snugly in the original case, perfectly measured to the original ones. And yeah, this is a part that the company said might be a problem, the indent here, to make this fall out. But it is necessary to accommodate space for the holders here. Otherwise, it was just too tight for some of the bigger cards like the Picasso 4 and such. So as I said, I want to have the indent there to make it as close to the original case as possible. So you have the cards there, and next one is yeah, and this one posed a little bit of a problem. The company said they could make it like the original one, and that way of doing it is called making a bridge. So I remodel it from being like a flip to being a bridge model instead. That took a bit of work, but yeah, I managed. So basically, it's they press in a certain piece of the metal here to make the bridge, and they said that should not be a problem. So yeah, what else? Yeah, I'm gonna have to daughter and placeholder PCB. So yeah, as the company, they can also make these standoffs. And in the original one, they are using something called a pull down or something. Some of the parts I have here I illustrate this with, where they just basically take a piece of the metal and they pull it down and then they put threads in it. It is cheaper, but it may not be as long lasting as if you have what's called a fastener. So I have selected the option to use fasteners in the case itself, and the fastener looks like a small, let me see, where is it, there. What they do is they put it in from the underside like this. This is an M3, and they put it in from the underside, and then they go to the top and they use a machine and they press it down so it's perfectly flat with the top surface, and that way you get threads to the sheet metal, but not actually threads in the sheet metal itself. So it'll basically be like a clamping down from the top to the bottom, and you get a ready-made sheet M3 insert here that is just attached. So that will be the one for every single of the main holes, and as well it will be for the attachments here. So all the attachments inside will use these. It is a little bit more expensive because I have to buy these and I have to clamp it on, but the longevity of the threads will be much better because it's not going to be as easy to put in the wrong screws and stuff like that because the metal is harder. And if something happens, you could potentially just replace that single thingy and just have it stamped again, because they can do that in a machine, or you can probably do it yourself if you have just a hammer and a tool or something. So the idea here is that you should have a little bit modularity with these. I also use it under here, so you can easily just add it there. The reason I didn't do it on this one is because it's big and clumpy, and it's more practical to have just the pull downs on this like it was on the original one. Same goes for here, it's just a pull down in to fasten it there. Yep. So that is that. Let me see. I'll just activate it because it looks pretty like this. you're wondering about the daughterboard PCBs and stuff, I model that from scratch, measuring the actual models. I needed to do that to see uh, to get the correct gap here and everything. So everything I model here has a purpose. It is basically to remeasure against something else, which caused me to basically model the whole motherboard. Like all the ports here, I just spent details on it so it should look pretty, but at the same time it has a function to, like here, I had to use the exact measurements between the holes to verify that the edges of these openings actually fitted. And yeah, at some point I found something unaligned and had to fix it. So yeah, I just realized maybe the serial is a bit high, but it doesn't really. No, it's not. But it's missing a hole. Where is the hole for the serial? Let me see. Supposed to be a hole for the serial. Let me see. And where is the backport sketch? There must be something fishy here. Let me see. I'll just check that now while I'm at it. I have to inspect. It's not always easy to find the edit. There's no gap there. There's no gap there. I can tell something is wrong because it doesn't change color for me. There it is. See, now it's a complete finish. See if it makes a hole. If you wonder what kind of PC I have an i9 900K. It still is clocked at 5 megahertz and gigahertz and only, yeah. So now that's how it should look like. That is the port opening for the serial port, as it should look. I knew something was different. Okay, so that's fixed. Whatever. It's because I have rivets and everything that it's complaining error in the flat pattern. I'll just delete it for now. So okay. This saving takes forever when you have a model that starts to become a little bit complex. So yeah, that is basically it. And we have the cover. And then the yellow cover on the front. Some of these have some kind of sketches in them. It's not there. So yeah, that is basically it. As I said, components are pretty much ready. It's actually just a question of time and money. So thought I would share a little bit of the progress. And yeah, where is the issue? Yeah. Thanks for watching.